Good evening and welcome to Straighttalk. My name is Msteeq Marlene and I'm here in Heritage TV, the heart of London, United Kingdom. Well, the topic I have today, I said, wow, knife and gun crimes, the epidemic, taking the lives of our children, our teenage children in the UK particularly. I had a show a few months back in the radio when the statistics proved that the killings in the UK was now more than the one in New York City. And having a background with New York City, I was so disturbed about it. But like I said, that was a few months back. But now, it should be actually declared as an epidemic. But I don't know yet how it's being handled in this country. But like, should I say, I believe in love. Love, love, love. Love thy neighbor. And then if you're loving your neighbor, what kind of upbringing are you giving to your children? But I wouldn't say much about this. I have two very articulate and knowledgeable people in the studio with me here today that we just sit down and have an open discussion in regards to this, because it's hurting, it's taking the lives of our teenagers, and it's killing me as I'm bringing this program today on Straighttalk, this topic today on Straighttalk. On my right I have Miss Julliet Makhapila.
Thank you.
Miss Makhapila is originally from Kenya, but here in the UK, I will let her do the sole introduction of herself. Can you tell my viewers a bit about yourself, Miss Makhapila?
First of all, thank you so much, Marlene, for Straighttalk, and thank you for your show. I watch it always. Thank you to the broadcaster who is also airing it up, Heritage TV.
Yeah.
Mr. Thomas, we thank you. And a little bit about myself. I'm a community transformer. Many people know me as a community transformer, community change maker, and I'm the UK Africa Diaspora Forum. I like to be known just as love. That's a little bit about myself.
Wow, you're welcome to my show.
Thank you.
Whew. And on the other side, I have my hands. You've seen him several times. You've met him several times in this program. In my we've talked on radio together, and Straighttalk here TV together, and we have a special program, political program, the Prime View show, on our Prime View television, and also via Heritage TV. None other than Mr. Spencer Ainewelu.
You're welcome, Marlene. Nice to be here.
Spencer, you're welcome to Straighttalk.
Thank you very much.
I know you too well. A few of us know you, but my viewers, most of them don't know you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Spencer Ainewelu, and like I said, I wear many hats, but for the purposes of this program, I'm a TV presenter, political TV presenter, and the topic for today is one that I've said I'd like to come and lend my voice to. You know, it's a serious topic. It's one that we all have children, and I think we need to get, come out and get a lot more people coming out to discuss this topic.
Yes. I wish they could, actually. You're welcome to Straighttalk. I wish a lot of people would take it on board to discuss this issue, because maybe by talking about it, some people will hearken to the voices of the people talking about it, and a few things can be changed. We probably will be able to contribute here and there from today's show. Miss Juliet, I invited you because I spoke to you for just in 2 minutes. I started a conversation with you. I just said, hey, this woman has to come to this show, because I mean, you enlightened me. You made me understand a few things I didn't actually know were existing in this country. Gun and knife crimes. Excuse me. I have a little cold a bit, but I hope you will be able to, it wouldn't affect this program. I was speaking to you the day I spoke to you on the phone, a few days ago.
Yes.
you were in a hotel outside UK.
Yes, I was in
And
Manchester.
Manchester, and
Yes.
some kids were misbehaving
Yes.
downstairs.
Yes.
But we couldn't even, you were paralyzed, you couldn't do much because you were in a hotel.
Yes.
But these kids, they have parents.
Yes. And they are running up and down outside, and it's a space skidding. And,
Yeah.
and I say, this is badly mannered children. That's what I said to you.
So what do you have to say about this epidemic I'm talking about?
Well, first of all, even before I start, any child lost in the street is one too many. So as we speak about this, I remember every child that has been lost in the streets, and we are talking about London.
Yes.
We've got to remember we don't live in Africa, we live in London. So for me, from the bottom of my heart, it's very painful. Both from a community person, both from a person, a human being, and just to think that a child can take a knife on the street, you know, that tells us a lot of things. And I think, thank you so much again to have a community presenter such as yourself, and I respect all the community leaders that are taking this subject in our community.
Yeah, speak a little bit louder so that the people
So
can also
what
hear
I'm
us.
thinking is, in terms of when you think about the children these days, the question I said to you, what is making these children so angry? And I think that we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to get to the bottom of why children can be bullies, why children can be so angry up till the point that that child decides to take a knife to the street and stab another child. That is concerning, and it would concern any parent. So for me, we need to start looking at systematically these issues, and we need to be honest with ourselves, as you said the other day. You know, in some cases we want to beat about the bush, or we want to polish it up. I beg your pardon. Polish that a child has gone out there and stabbed another child. What is there to polish about that? Someone convince me.
Spencer, you heard what she said. What contribution do you have to? I'm sure your some part of London is worse than some part, and initially was postcode. And from postcode, even the postcode also, knives and guns. What went wrong? What happened to our children?
First of all, I'd like to say my heart goes out to the families of the kids involved in this. I mean, I can't imagine being a parent of, of a child involved in both ways. The child who's doing the stabbing and the child who's lost their lives, And when I looked at the names of these children, it was disappointing to see that most of these names are Nigerian and African names.
I was going to get there. I was going to get there.
So for me, it's something that I'm seeing as the problems are many. I mean, you can't grapple or hold on to one issue and say this is what the issue is or that's what the issue. But for me, I'm looking at it from an African person, and it's got to be from the family unit. The breakdown of the family units for me is part of this problem. You have the issues of drugs. You have issues of the society we live in, the pressures on families. The pressure to earn money to meet up with your commitment. Sometimes, if it's a one-parent family, you see the mother or the father who has to go and fend for the children, going out, leaving these kids by themselves. Once they're 16, you feel you can leave them. And once they're 16, they start getting into all manner of things. You have drugs there. You have the gang culture that's pervading the land, like you said, postcodes. I mean, I live in Tottenham, and I can say even down the road from me, a few months ago, there was a girl that was shot, dead. I was surprised, I was shocked. I even had to start saying to my daughter, she can't go to school by herself. But at the end of the day, you can't be everywhere, So the problem we have in London, I mean, it's a vicious cycle, and it keeps on, it looks to me, it seems like every 15, 20 years, there's another upsurge of gun and knife crime again. Remember the last time was Damilola Taylor?
I was going to say, I was going to go there. Not even before Damilola Taylor. The whole thing started with Stephen Lawrence.
Yes, Stephen Lawrence. So Stephen if you Lawrence, go back and see how many years.
Yeah, from those years. But there's something, I picked up on something you said. Broken families. Not necessarily broken families. Because I know there's some single parents.
Yes.
That their kids are way better than those where you have the so-called traditional husband and wife in the house. So it's not, there's something, I don't know, maybe you guys can help me out here. I don't know what it is, because
what I'm trying to say,
sat down and tried to analyze.
So what I'm trying to say is it's a multifaceted issue. It's not just one thing you pick on. There are some kids who are from well-behaved families who get involved in this, and you're wondering why are they? So you look at peer pressure, you look at the society in terms of drugs, you look at the gang culture that's pervading, you look at even music and all of that. There's a lot of things that's making these kids feel that they need to carry a knife. Okay, you look at, some of them feel insecure, some of them feel like I don't trust the police, so I need to protect myself when I'm walking down the street. And then you're wondering, why is it within the black community? And this is why we need to start speaking up.
Yeah, Juliet, you're a community worker.
I think bullying is something that needs to be tackled, Marlene. And when children feel threatened and, amongst themselves, they fight, and, children will always, perhaps, we fought when we were in school, let's be realistic. But my concern is when a child knows, let's be realistic here, knows to carry a knife is wrong. Marlene, as a parent, from when a child is 4 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, that child knows carrying a knife is not acceptable. Not in the house, so why would it be acceptable outside the house? So when that child decides good parenting or bad parenting, and by the way, I'm quite cautious when I talk about good parenting and bad parenting. I question people, I must say, because I don't believe that even a drunkard, I personally believe that they have a bad habit or they are probably on substance misuse, but I don't believe even if they have substance misuse, they would wish their own child harm. In that sense, I really personally think deeper, because I sincerely believe that the worst thing that parent would wish their child is to be like them. So in that question, I think they would perhaps be sympathetic that their child sees them as they are, but I think that we need to be quite thoughtful with those breakdown families. So in that sense, when someone tries to explain to me as a person, not as my community, but in my own thoughts, I am quite sympathetic that somebody would try and say to me that a child of over 5 years old, when that child, as long as that child is not autistic or whatever, but as long as that child can understand, beginning to understand, learning from school, that child knows sharp objects. So the question has a youth worker, daddy, aunties and whatever, why would a child of any sort, we are seeing age 12, let's be realistic, age 13,
13,
14,
the other day,
15,
was it a few days ago,
16.
In the papers, I opened up the papers, I saw 5 kids in 6 days dead.
16,
teenagers, 15,
14,
13,
13, and that is what is frightening.
Yes.
That is what is frightening us as grown-ups. And then you talked about earlier on, we are seeing Nigerian kids, African. It's not an African thing. Of course it's not an African thing. Initially in the 60s or 70s or 80s or whatever, this problem would have been said, if we were to be, because we always classify ourselves, that's cannabis issues or drugs issues, those are the Caribbeans, we would say. But hang on a minute. These issues are welfare. So the question is, why are these children thinking it's okay to get out of the house, regardless of the backgrounds. Because you asked us to have a straight talk.
Yeah.
So our straight talk means, why would any child, whether rich, poor, any child, even if it is in Africa or here, in Mexico or wherever, why would any child, a child is a child in any country, every child matters in any country. Why would a child think it's okay to take a knife and sincerely go and stab another child?
Okay. The question, the topic is this knife, gun, whatever. Who's to be blamed? Like now, you're talking about the children now. The mentality of these kids carrying guns, going out there, taking knives to go and kill. Who do we blame? We have churches that preach against this. We have in schools, the teachers talk against these things. And then hopefully, I sincerely believe the parents also talk up against it. Who are we to blame here? It's really painful.
I personally wouldn't want it to be a blame game, personally, and I don't think that would be a good way forward for anyone. I think the question is, why are these children very badly behaved? Very badly behaved. Because it is a bad behavior.
Yeah.
By you picking up the knife even before they stab, they thought they went to your cupboard or they went to £1 shop or wherever they thought about it. Even that thought process itself, that is badly behaved. So the question is, where is their manners? Is it because they lack respect in the community? Is it because they lack respect in the teachers? Is it because they lack respect in the system that is around?
Yeah.
You know, you've got, so is it, you know, when somebody asks me, who is to blame? These children, some of these children, let's say some, let's add that word, some of these children lack or they have bad manners. And, you know, I'm sorry, we do know, as a grown-up, you do know when your child has got bad manners. You do know.
That's true. That's true.
Sorry,
yeah.
I was going to cut in there and say, you're asking who's to blame,
Yes.
but I was just looking at it from the perspective of an African, because we have to look at it from that context. And you can ask yourself, how come we don't have the same levels of stabbings in, say, for instance, Nigeria? And these are countries where there's deprivation, there's the hardship and everything, but you don't see the same levels of stabbings. So that brings me to the question of the kind of punishment, you know, society as a whole. in this country, I remember when I came to England when I was 14, this first thing I noticed was that there are basically no consequences for your actions as a teenager. There are little or no consequences. The punishment is little or nothing. You know, as a kid coming from Africa where everything is, you're being beaten in school, you're flogged and discipline's up there, you carrying a knife, it's something you will never do. Because you know what the consequences are. Right from your home, if your father finds out, what he would do with it. If your teachers find out, what would happen. But in this country, even if you get caught with a knife as a teenager, what happens? Nothing. They'll take it off you in school or whatever and then report to your parents, and that's the end of it. Your parents won't do anything. So it goes back to family values. It goes back to society as a whole.
I was going to cut you in there by saying that I spoke to a parent that something similar happened to the son, and to me, I condemned him seriously right there, because the first thing he told me was it was the system, and I then used myself as an example. I said, listen, you're living with your wife, happily married, and I have been, I'm sorry to say that, single mother for God knows how long now. And I'm so proud of my children. I'm not saying my children are perfect, but none of my kids would ever think of
taking a knife and taking it outside.
That's true.
You know, my son in the house, my big one, he's now 25, Tyrell. He cannot stand the sight of knives. So now and then, you can't tell me because I'm a single mother, I'm working 2-3 jobs, I cannot look after my children. I don't know what my children are doing out there. The kind of friends they keep.
It's peer pressure as well.
You said we shouldn't make it a blame game. Personally, as an African woman, I blame the parents. I will publicly now say I blame the parents. Yeah, because if you tell me you're doing 20 or 30 jobs in the UK, you rightfully mentioned Nigeria. I am a typical Nigerian Igbo woman. My child cannot come and tell me, Mommy, shut up. Ooh, I'm in the UK. Which UK? That I brought you in or I had you here? What kind of friends are you keeping that you will come back and then talk back at your mother?
This is where I'm saying badly behaved children. Badly behaved children, and it is like the parent has lost maybe control in some cases, maybe. So if you don't, if a child starts talking and answering you back as a mother or even a father, I beg your pardon. I just say it here from, but I didn't want us to look at it from a blaming. It is when we start blaming those parents, we need to look at the real issues. The real issues. Do those parents need good, the parenting in this country? They're talking about parenting before you have children. If you can go to classes in America and all this. For me, think about it as an African woman. How many, how many people will think that is okay? Will somebody tell you to go and learn classes for you, how you bring up your child? You will say, what? What did you say? So,
and I think to buttress with what you're saying is one of the issues that was on the front burner a few years ago, I think last year, was to do with stop and search. If you remember, the stop and search issue to the black community, we see it as the police are deliberately going after our children, and there was a big cry about how proportionate was it and how was it being, are we being targeted as a community, and criminalizing our children, But you can see that since the stop and search has been reduced, you can see the direct impact of it. That it's actually showing that, look, the stop and search, even though it might be painful to us,
it was working.
It's something that needs to be there. I mean, if a black youth hasn't got anything to worry about and the police stops you, my son for instance, if the police stop you, I'll tell him, listen to the instructions, obey what they tell you, and you got to be on your ways. If you because they're actually doing that for a reason. So obviously I understand where the police deliberately go out and target and pick on children, it's called racial profiling, when they go after black kids deliberately. But we can't throw away the baby with the bathwater. We have to understand that this is impacting on us directly as a community. I mean, most of those children being stabbed, they're not white. They're from the black community, and the people doing the stabbing are black. So you have a whole, on the other side, on one side you have people being killed, the all blacks and Africans, and on the other side the people doing the killing and the stabbing are predominantly blacks as well. So it's a black on black crime, and you're wondering, like I was going to say earlier, that's what I wanted to point out. When I was younger, as a teenager, the problem was there. I was a teenager in this country. The problem of knife stabbings and knife carrying and all that, it was there. There was a cycle. The police tried to come and, the society, I don't know, I think it was the conservatives then came in with their own stop and search and all that. It subsided. After a while, another government came in. The same issues came back again. You have issues of teenage pregnancy. The issues are many. Teenage pregnancy, young people not knowing to be parents. 16 years ago, a girl who was 16 years ago probably has a 16-year-old now, who had a baby. Do you know, a 16-year-old. Yeah, so I'm just saying I'm not saying that all of them are like that, but I'm just obviously there are exceptions. But I'm saying predominantly this is what's happening. Children having children. When the knock-on effect happens, it won't happen straight away. It will happen probably 15, 16 years later. That's when you see the problems. These delinquent children being churned out by society because society is letting it happen without having things to blame. So after the blaming I'm talking about, we need to look at solutions. What are the solutions to this? What, like I said, stop and search could be one of them. We as a community.
Let me stop you there. Let's take a break. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, then we'll think about solutions like you mentioned. You can then mention a few
Okay.
what you think about the solutions. But we'll be back. Let's take a short break.
Heritage Television. Promoting African culture and heritage at its best. From talk shows that concern you to both local and international news that relates to you. From grassroots football to African children's programs. Heritage Television. We cover your social and special events like weddings, birthdays, church anniversaries, and so on, and broadcast them live on our apps and online. Heritage Television, broadcasting everything about culture and heritage. Heritage Television. We've got it covered. Do download our apps on both Android, iOS, and Windows mobile platform. Heritage Television, your very own TV station.
Okay, as you can see, we're now here in Shogoro Village, and we are actually seated with our Chief Mensu Abraham in Shogoro Village, and I am going to ask him a few questions and find out how they have been able to maintain themselves all throughout this period of time and what we can do to improve the better of the community here in Shogoro Village. However, as you can see, the waters, as far as I'm concerned, is not a good place to live. Fortunately, we thank God that we've been able to give some sort of assistance through the Stella King Foundation towards her for her dialysis and for her treatment further on.
The community has met together, and because of the importance of this project, they've given you the land that they beside the petrol station.
Thank you, sir.
For use.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We give you free.
Thank you, community.
I want to tell you all about an event we're having in August. So it's on the 24th of August 2018. It's the King's Humanity charity event. I want all of you out there to go out, look up the flyer, look up the details, go on, buy the tickets. All this money raised, all tickets bought are all going towards charity. It's going to be a wonderful day, a wonderful event, a wonderful cause. Please come and join us. Thank you.
Welcome back. You're still tuned to Straight Talk with myself, Msteeq Marlene, and with my gorgeous guest in the studio today. Although we're discussing a very touchy topic, but Miss Julliet Makhapila is still here, and Mr. Spencer Ainewelu is still here. I'm talking quite low, right? But not just because I'm a little bit under the weather, but because this topic today is really, really killing. Guns and knife crimes epidemic in UK. Teenagers wasting their lives. Black on black crimes. And still no solution to it. Mr. Spencer, you mentioned about solution.
Yeah.
What do you think is the solution, or part of the solution, or what can help save some of our boys' lives?
I mean,
not just boys and girls, teenagers.
I mean, I wouldn't say there's one solution, but we can try. I mean, as a community, we can't just sit back and let this keep on happening and just say we leave it to the police, or we need to start talking to ourselves. That's one thing. I think that's very important. Adults, like we are, parents, need to start saying, look, we need to get to start talking to one another and start understanding and seeing why, and I'll probably start organizing town hall meetings or community meetings where parents can come together and say, look, we want to discuss, where we can have young people there with maybe youth leaders to say, what are the issues in this community? Why are our kids killing themselves?
Yeah.
If it's the gang issue, we need to know why these kids are joining these gangs, why they feel they can, they need to join a gang to feel safe or to belong. And then as a community, and one thing I've noticed is it's prevalent among the black community. We don't trust the police. I know it's probably, for me, from the way I say it, it's something that stems from probably, it's a historical thing. We don't trust from slavery days and all that. We don't trust the opposite, the race, the white race also. So obviously the police are predominantly white people, so we don't trust them. It stems from that, but we need to start changing that. To know that if we're going to exist in the white society, which the UK is, we need to start opening up and becoming part of it. Like they keep on saying, in the black community, we don't love ourselves and all that. I think it goes beyond that. Africans, we can see what's happening. Young kids, who are of African descent. Before it used to be probably Caribbean kids, but now it's changing. So the solutions are not really something that I can put my finger on. Yeah. But I can say that engaging with the police, for instance, in terms of telling them what our issues are, having a lot more community-based leaders involved in discussion and talking.
Talking about community-based leaders, you're a community transformer. And you've met most of them. I'm sure these stories have come up over and over again.
Yes, definitely.
Do we have people actually talking about this and thinking of how to cover it up?
So when we've seen the rise of especially the West African children and East African communities, such as community transformers such as myself, we have actually begun. And if I say since last year, we have begun to bring communities together, community leaders, to ensure that we are really assessing the situation. More so because, as I said before, losing one child, regardless of which race that child is, whether white, whether English, we have seen children from all sectors being or killing themselves. So a child to me is a child, regardless of what background that child comes from. So it is important for us to understand that the statistics are higher in the black community. But having said that, there's been children who have died from all sectors of community, and that we cannot forget. The question is, what are we doing in the community?
What are the
So we've got
leaders like you. What are you doing?
So we've got so many programs, and may I appreciate all the community leaders and change makers who have brought this subject. All the community media, such as yourself, who are taking this issue very seriously. And it's got to come from the heart. This is not a subject that is easy to bring about. Children in London dying, a very safe place, or expected to be a safe place. Exactly my point. So, and you think that a child, be it whatever the circumstances, both are victims, The child, as you said, Shefa, are their own. Both are victims. So we've got community leaders such as Chief Lady Wennett of Extraordinary, the founder of Extraordinary program. We've got Trisha, who is working with the community. Enough is Enough, where we did a walk all the way from Hackney to the town, sort of from Islington to Hackney. We've got Temi Tope, who is the founder of African Security. We've got Pastor Lade. We've got another one called Sade. We have got T. Hakim doing, I can't remember all of them, but what we've got T. Hakim, who is from the Nation of Islam. We have gone to an extent of now getting people to even talk to their faith groups and begin to sort of like interact within different faith groups, so that we are able to tackle the root cause and what is causing this kind of picture that we are seeing, which is sending shockwaves to us. And so we are looking. We don't want to say that we are not looking. The question is resourcing. The question for all of us is resourcing is, although people say that there's a lot of money which is being given, but being that we are working in very small, what I call stratas in the community, we are seeing that the resources is quite not effective. So most of these things are done voluntarily. Tonight here again is voluntary.
Yes, I was going to say that too.
Yes.
And is the government assistant, that's the thing.
Well, Richard Taylor, Damilola's father, I have met him. So yes, we've now got Damilola Taylor's center, as you all know. So if somebody would say the government helping, the government could probably argue that we have given you a center. So the question is that center being fully used? So you can see. And that is the question I sort of set last time. And what we did on the 9th of December last year, I was part of the talk last year. Councillor Susan Jumuke, and speak to her, she was there. I'm trying to remember the auntie of Damilola Taylor's, you know, the auntie. And every year they sort of like come together and they remember Damilola Taylor to remind people this is a serious case. So I happen to have been one of the special guests there. But the thing is, and thank you, by the way, thank you so much to Olayomi Koiki, king of social media, to ASW, Agnes Pratt in the Sierra Leone community, yourself now, Straighttalk, we've got Heritage TV coverage, we've got Ben TV. Oh, this is something that is shaping up. And it is important to acknowledge every single person. Because what happens is, and we've also got a mega collection before she comes back and say, you forgot to mention.
You forgot me.
So on that, and every single person, and the father figures we have. So we have myself as well. We have Joseph, I can't remember his surname, but we have these community TV programs. And again, I come back as well. They need resourcing. Does the government decide to give such a space, beautiful space? We've got Star Radio, for example, which is effectively coming into our communities through Sky and yourself. Heritage, bless you, all of them. The question is, do you have enough resources to be able even to do more than you can do? We talk about father figures, and we talk about, you know, the questions which keep coming up every time I attend these meetings. I mean, recently, thanks to the Nation of Islam, they managed and they actually tagged me on, thanks to T. Hakim. He tagged me to watch what they were doing in Brixton, for example. And what they did was they wanted all the children who were being affected, that kind of thing, to bring them. And they had these kind of father figures and whatever. And I looked at it.
Brothers.
Yes, and then we wanted the Caribbean kids and the African kids to be brought together. So we are thinking of the steps forward. We are sort of, I personally believe in sharing, and that is why I take interest and notice the little groups. Not a lot of people perhaps do that, but I personally, as a change maker, I like to see that people can, and thank you as well for allowing me to mention them, but I feel that it's important to get to them, those people who are working in the same areas, to get to feel what have you done.
They appreciate it somehow.
And also Temitope, for instance, went to number 10 and knocked number 10 and took in a petition and said, we want these issues dealt with. There were 4 of them. To me, it doesn't matter who is doing what. What is important is, are we saving the children, both the victim who are dying, which is very painful to see a victim child, and also taking action of the bullying that is happening. The thing is, bullying is happening. Most of these kids, when you speak to them, the reason why they are carrying knives is because
they're being bullied.
They're being bullied. And so they want to protect themselves. So if you want to protect yourself, you ask. And I personally asked, I found out that in certain streets across UK, the kids are afraid to pass through there. And when I saw that, my own personal action, I went to the nearest police station and I intervened and I said, I don't care if these kids are saying that they're scared to pass in that street, then we need more policing in that street, because that is an intervention.
We have people like you intervene. I really appreciate it. We're almost coming to the end of the show, but before we do that, Spencer, your last word is on, do we have regulatory body, something that will stop these children from going out there, whichever way they acquire this knife and gun, to stop them, you know? And then you can round up because we're almost...
sorry, before I go to that, I want to go on to what she was saying. I must plug someone who's been doing a whole lot of work in the community. His name's Tamino Briggs, and on Facebook you can check him out. It's T Victory, it's called. I mean, he goes out there speaking to the youth on the buses, and you know, he goes outside schools preaching, telling. Well, I won't call it preaching because he tells them the truth about staying away from gun crime, and you know. So we have a lot of people, as you mentioned, doing a lot of work. But like I said, sometimes we need a lot more than that as well. We need the deterrents in place. Now, what are the deterrents? The deterrent normally should come from the institutions. So we're talking about the police, for instance. We're talking about even in the schools. You know, what happens when a child is found with a knife? What's the process? What do we do? Is it just a slap on the wrist and that's the end of it? No. We need a lot more than that. We need to bring the parents involved, get the parents involved. If your child is caught with a knife, this is what happens to you even as a parent. You know, we need to start thinking a lot deeper than just saying it's drugs or... No, there's a lot more to it. Okay, we need laws. Maybe they need to strengthen the sentencing sometimes. Because some of these knives are not just the kids carrying them. It's been found that some adults even give the kids knives to hold for them. You know, so in the process of holding a knife, a kid could say, let me use it. And then these are the kind of issues. So to get this sorted, we need a holistic picture. We need to we need some sort of a town hall meeting where we invite the police, we have the community leaders, we have the MPs, we have the parents, we have the youth. And we can come together and start discussing more. And maybe have it as a, you know, have reorientational programs on TV, you know, about the ills of knife, the reality, some documentaries about the reality of what happens when kids carry knives, showing what happens in prison and all of that, and even showing the dead, there was another man I need to talk about, his name is Eze Anacho. He always speaks, you know, he always speaks to the youth, you know, so I know there's a lot happening, but sometimes it's not just enough. We need help, really. So this for me is a cry for help. We need, as a community, we need help.
The community hall as well.
Yes, and just give us your 1 minute last thoughts, please.
My 1 minute, you need the government to stop cutting resources for youth centers. The kids are saying they don't have anywhere to go. I sometimes disagree, but I feel that with community centers, we are able to have places which community leaders and mentors such as yourself can come in. But if you say to me now, go and mentor those kids, and you only got the barriers for Damilola Taylor, some people say, oh, distance. But at the same time, that's what we've got. Just to add on that, thank you so much to Richard Taylor for the work that he's been doing on behalf of us and the government. And his request is we need to use the center more. So the center is there, it's beautifully done. I have seen it. So at the moment, since we don't have anything, if we can sometimes, whenever these kids, you know, they can go and play football or basketball or something, you know, like that. Yeah.
Well, you've heard it all, and I hope we're able to actually make our points a little clearer. And we're still seeking for solution. We're still seeking for funding, like you said. We're still seeking for assistance, and we're seeking for big brothers out there. When I say big brothers out there, if you find any child, any teenager going astray, please call the person back, call the person to cause. Talk to him, show him love, show him there's another way, he or she, not just him, another way of tackling issues, and not with knives nor guns, not hatred, because it's hatred that makes you kill. And if you want to eliminate the other, the person you eliminated, and you yourself, your parents, are paying for it dearly. Even if you're not caught, you feel you're not caught, inside you, you will never have no rest or peace. On this note, I have to thank my guests, Miss Julliet and Spencer.
It's been a pleasure.
And you, my viewers, for listening and watching. Stay blessed and good night.
Okay, as you can see, we're now here in Shogoro village, and we are actually seated with our chief Mensu Abraham in Shogoro village, and I am going to ask him a few questions and find out how they have been able to maintain themselves all throughout this period of time, and what we can do to improve the better of the community here in Shogoro village. However, as you can see, the waters, as far as I'm concerned, is not a good place to live. Fortunately, we thank God that we've been able to give some sort of assistance through the Stella King Foundation towards her for her dialysis and for her treatment further on.
The community has met together, and because of the importance of this project, they've given you the land that they beside the petrol station.
Thank you, sir.
For use.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We give you free.
Thank you, community.
I want to tell you all about an event we're having in August. So it's on the 24th of August 2018. It's the King's Humanity charity event. I want all of you out there to go out, look up the flyer, look up the details, go on, buy the tickets. All money raised, all tickets bought are all going towards charity. It's going to be a wonderful day, a wonderful event, a wonderful cause. Please come and join us. Thank you.